African leaders encouraged to develop the continent to make it impervious to foreign influences. On the domestic scene, politics and politics in Edo and Ondo states as political leaders gear up for the governorship elections in those states later in the year. And in Rivers State, the rivers of intrigue will not stop flowing as there was a push and pull this week on the issues of the tenure and the proposal perhaps tenure elongation of some local government chairmen who just didn't want to go. But of course, the secretariat remained under lock and key. We have this on the lineup and many others. My name is Fisaya Gonfui. Thank you for being there. The All Progressives Congress APC is calling for the federal government's intervention in the state of affairs in Rivers State. Chairman Caretaker Committee of the All Progressives Congress, Chief Tony Okocha, made a call while briefing newsmen in Port Harcourt following the outcome of issues surrounding the tenure expiration of local government chairmen, among other issues in Rivers State.
Chief Tony Okocha, who condemned the current crisis in Rivers State arising from tenure of local government chairmen, said elections ought to have been held if the government had made resources available to enable the process. He said refusal to conduct local government election for alleged political tension did not help matters. Chief Okocha absolved APC members of any form of violence, saying they are not part of the crisis in the state.
We met with the commission, the chairman, and the issue of local government election was one of the issues we confronted the chairman with. And the chairman told us that he was ready, that they need the enablement. APC River State that I represent today is demanding for a state of emergency in River State.
On the issue of the former Minister of Transportation, Chibike Amechi, saying 84% of Nigerians are not satisfied with President Bola Tinubu's administration, Chief Okocha distanced Rivers State APC from such comment.
Rivers people and Nigerians support Mr. President. We just rose from a meeting from the South leadership meeting in Calabar. This resonated, it was resounding. One of the resolutions of that meeting was to congratulate Mr. President for his performance so far in 1 year.
He appealed to residents and indigents of the state to remain peaceful while also calling for federal government intervention.
Meanwhile, the People's Democratic Party has cautioned the immediate past Rivers State local government chairman whose tenure had expired against any conduct that is capable of disrupting the peace in the state. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugunagba, in a statement issued in Abuja, noted that the 3 years tenure in office of the former Rivers State Local Government Executive Councils expired by the passage of time under the relevant state law establishing the Rivers State Local Government Council Administration. The PDP therefore counseled the former Rivers State Local Government Council chairman to desist from any action that may constitute disruption in local government administration in the state. It also called on the people of Rivers State to remain calm, law-abiding, and continue to work together for the continued stability, peace, and delivery of democracy dividends in Rivers State. Now, we will be talking about that and, of course, other issues surrounding issues of politics and governance in today's discussion. And I have with me someone who's we can call a good governance advocate. We'll be looking at the political space, not only here in Abuja, of course, also in states around the country, as well as the main issue, talking about Rivers State as well, where we've seen some push and show so far. So let me welcome to the studio, Konko Vitus Okonkwo, for joining us. Thanks for joining us. You are a good governance advocate. You've seen some of the push and shove we've seen from Rivers State, and looking at the issues of the legislature and the executive and some of the rhetorics that have come out from there? Are we maturing democratically?
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you for having me in your program today. Politics, people, and power has been the struggle of life all the way. When you look at the political shenanigans going on in Rivers State, one would have two fundamental questions to ask. One, we must ask that law that says that extended, who has the power to make laws for local government administration and guidance is the State Assembly. So it is equally the Rivers State Assembly that made the law that gave 3 years as the tenure of local government chairman in Rivers State. The another question is, the State Assembly of Rivers State equally were the one who made law and passed it into law that gave an extension of a few months at the expiration of the 3 years. So here, I want to see who is standing behind and for the people. If the first and initial 3 years law was made by the State Assembly lawmakers of Rivers State, I don't see any reason why another law meant in genuine legislative contest that represents need for an extension of tenure becomes a problem. But because the matter is already in court, challenging those amendments, challenging the extension of tenures, I think the court reserved the right to make judicial pronouncement on those issues. So it is outside our discussion. But the body language is what everybody will try to explain. Today, the tenure was said to be over by 17th. The 17th was a public holiday. The battles have started. This one going to the office, this one confronting. I want to appreciate the Nigerian police, the APC government, how the police have been deployed at the various secretariats in Rivers State to make sure there is peace in Rivers State. No news has it, fights, killing, and all that have happened in Rivers State, which everybody is against. The politics that is playing in Rivers State call to mind whose interests are you serving.
Okay, let's widen this discussion beyond one state. We've seen a situation where even in other states, we've seen a lot of cordiality. In some states, it's even, they are derisively referred to as rubber stamps of the governor. And we've seen states where maybe some of them are loggerheads, as we have seen in this case. But as you have rightly pointed out, when two elephants fight, the grass suffers. How do you now mend fences between the legislature and the executive? Because the overall intention of all these, arms of government is to ensure that the people get development, they get justice, and the ship of state, the course of state is in the right direction.
For the people to enjoy full democratic legislative dividends in any state of the nation today, the legislature as an arm must be removed from the apron string of the executive, where the executive have twisted them and now uses them like a pencil in the eyes of governance. So it is my opinion that the legislature in every state must be given that autonomy and freedom to operate and exercise legislative functions, make laws that target the interests of the people, not only servicing the interests of the executive per se. So we must gear towards having houses of assemblies that will not be seen to be rubber stamp. Why people see them and say that they are rubber stamps is that they do no longer make laws that target the free will and desires of the people. So we want to have a situation and time where we will have the state assemblies function as a legislative house, do laws that target the interests of the people, confront certain policies of the government, and legislatively compel them to do the right thing for the interests of the Nigerian people.
All right, let's interrogate some, activities. We'll go to Rivers State very quickly before we now, talk of, governance and politics at the national level. Let's interrogate this. Some say this caretaker thing that many governors put in place is perhaps to have unfair advantage for their political parties when the elections eventually come around. If the government there is insisting on the tenure expiration of the local government chairman, the right course would perhaps be to organize elections. That has not been done. Instead of that, what we are seeing is a caretaker committee or a caretaker arrangement in place, as we've seen in many states since the Fourth Republic, since we've been in this Fourth Republic. How do we, discourage this trend?
The issue of having interim and having people to non-elected people to act before elections in various states has become a situation of slaughtering the Christmas goat and the Christmas fowl by the governors of the various states, because none of them really and truly want to have an election where councillors will emerge and all that, and governance move down to the system and service the general interest of Nigerian people. But today, you find out that in Rivers State, there would have been an election before the expiration of the 17th, so envisaged. But for the interest best known to the governor, the election did not hold. There was no arrangement for election. In the same Rivers State, the State Assembly, looking at the future that there's no need for vacuum, had an extension of few months after the expiration of the elected chairman, so that the government can be able to do the needful. I presume that is their mindset. So the governor immediately appointed caretaker committees and said these people should take a bow and leave. But I want to believe that both the governor should know that laws made by the state assemblies should be obeyed. It's laws of the land. And part of the oath of office he took was to maintain peace and law and order of the state, including laws made by the state assemblies. And I want equally to say that the state assembly, having made that law, having derived the mandate to represent their people and made that amendment should be respected. But now it is under contest. Now it is in the court of law. Everybody should pipe low and watch what will be the judicial outcome of that, since it is being challenged.
All right, let's move on now to the national level. You've seen so many submissions, especially since we've been commemorating 1 year of the current, the 10th Assembly. In terms of the legislative activities you have seen, are you seeing some synergy? Are you seeing some common purpose for development? Or as you have said, you alluded to in some of your submissions, are you seeing a scenario where we have just a yes assembly as against a robust assembly?
Yeah, at the National Assembly level, we are seeing an assembly that is focused. We are seeing an assembly that is determined. We are seeing an assembly that is committed to the Nigerian cause, to do the right thing at the right times, to make sure that the National Assembly deliver for the Nigerian people. When you look at the programs of governance, you watch out that both the Senate and the House have always geared towards to the path of making laws and supporting policies of government that target the interests of Nigerian people. And I'm sure that with the step they have taken within this 1 year in the National Assembly, complementing the effort of the government, criticizing where necessary, and making headway for a better future, I can assure that there's hope for this 10th Assembly. If you look at their position with the federal government on going to court to challenge the local government autonomy, you will find out that the legislature are really thinking about the people. Just last time, the House had a party where they had a serious engagement with relevant stakeholders, where everybody was saying there's need for the local government autonomy. Why do we say that this assembly is focused and determined? Is that looking at the fact that this is no longer time that a forum or a group of political power will overpower the legislators, they begin to counter blindly things that meant well for Nigerian people.
But there's another school of thought saying that, there's a high turnover of, legislators this time. So a lot of greenhorns are in the chambers, that may affect the quality of legislation, because naturally what people expect is that with the more experience you spend on the floor of the chambers of the two chambers, you are likely to make better laws based on experience and interaction, with the various arms of government that you are various, institutions of government that they are supervising. Would you, in your own estimation, do you think that may affect the quality of legislation we'll be seeing in this dispensation?
Well, it is people's opinion on the quality of legislative outcome if you are a new first-timer, second-timer, and third-timer. Well, yes, it will be noted that the more the wine, the better the sweet. So the test. So it's those that are ranking in the National Assembly tend to have the more legislative experience and knowledge about legislative practices and investigations that serve the purpose. But I must state here that I am privilegedly aware the National Assembly is a big institution with all the requisite requirements that is required to prepare a legislature to be functional.
But that takes time, doesn't it?
And that be functional and productive at the same time. So I want to say you here that the commission there does their job, the NILS does their job, they train and they do all sorts of programs that empower a new and first-timer to be capable to present legislation that stood the test of time.
All right, so, time is not a friend. We've seen, in terms of interaction between the two and the executives themselves, who marked a year in office on the 29th of May, what are your expectations for the second year? The first one, of course, a lot of people will say maybe be seen as a gestation period for some of the policies rolled out earlier. What are your expectations for the second year?
Our expectation for the second year is that the government have done their best in terms of policy, body languages, and the engagements that have yielded results, and some of them are futuristic, which we are hopeful of the outcome as the years goes by. But when you look at the general system, you will find out that there are still some ministries and agencies that are some lacunas that the government has to do something to cover those space. Like, for instance, when you talk about the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, we found out that since the minister issues was raised and the minister was suspended, there have been vacuum in that ministry, and I think that it will be right enough this time that the federal government does something immediately to cover the vacuum, looking at the targeted population where the humanitarian services cover. You will find out that over 40 to 43% of Nigerians are living in poverty, and there are challenges and issues all over and around that require that particular lacuna, that space to be covered. Doing so, there have been calls all over left, right, and center that a replacement of that position, which was removed from a woman who was there before now, should be equally consider another woman to replace that particular space.
Let's, move on very quickly. Many thanks to Okonkwo, Vitus Okonkwo, for your interventions today on Political Update. Moving on now, let's look at some activities in the political scene in different states, and then we'll come back for some more.
The succession process for the local government councils in Rivers State has been a subject of contention after the Martin Amehude-led faction of the State House of Assembly amended the local government law extending their tenure by 6 months. This was, however, invalidated by a Rivers State High Court judgment. With the tenure of the immediate past local government council leadership across 23 local government areas expiring on June 17, 2024, there has been concerns over alleged threats by some of the council chairmen not to vacate office.
They should allow the existing peace to enjoy in Rivers State. Our tenure has elapsed.
Today I listened to his broadcast and he had directed that the HLGS should take over from the council chairman. And I'm ready to do that.
Across the local government councils visited, youth and women gathered, according to them, to wish the outgone chairman farewell. Some of them said their presence is also to protect government assets from vandalism.
It will be unwise for anybody elected for 3 years, which was the last midnight, to say that he will not leave power.
People of Obia all came out in mass to see the council and also wish them well.
Before the next election in Nigeria.
Over the years, various reforms have been implemented to enhance electoral processes. Despite these reforms, there remains a critical gap in the effective dissemination of information regarding the electoral legal framework. It is on this premise Kimpact Development Initiative, with the support of the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, developed Niger elections to address the electoral information gap among citizens by providing a user-friendly platform for citizens.
The platform Niger election seek to provide that information required in terms of voting education, in terms of electoral civic matters, electoral processes and procedures, in terms of even understanding the electoral justice, which happen to be the aspect of the judiciary, in terms of the cases, and also lastly to also understand the constitution.
Nigeria, as we know, is a huge democracy, contributing to global efforts to uphold democratic values. I wish to emphasize the government's determination to deploy technologies that enhance our democratic processes.
Kimpact Development Initiative is a youth-based non-governmental organization anchored on the principles of participation, data-driven advocacy, building strong democratic institutions, gender equality, and public policies.
On the foreign scene, the fifth president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, was sworn in the course of the week for a second term in office. Our president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was one of the guests and one of the heads of government witnessed the inauguration of the seventh administration of the country.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, could we warmly welcome the President of Nigeria and current chairperson of ECOWAS, His Excellency Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Nigeria has been with South Africa since its apartheid era and still here with one of its long-standing allies. The leader of the largest African country was conspicuous on the roll call as South Africans once again returned to the union buildings where their topmost icon of democracy, Nelson Mandela, took oath of office 30 years ago to begin a democratic journey. The citizens were also joined by other heads of state and government as President Cyril Ramaphosa gets a second chance to lead the country.
So help me God.
The President of the Republic of South Africa.
But beyond the inauguration of a new administration, South Africans are equally celebrating 3 decades of their democratic journey, partnership and growth. Now returning to power on the heels of a political arrangement leading to a government of national unity, President Ramaphosa says this is only necessary toward a more effective governance as he promises to heal the divisions of the past and eradicate the inequalities of the present amongst his people.
The voters of South Africa did not give any single political party the full mandate to govern our country alone. They have directed us to work together to address their plight and realize their aspirations.
That has been political updates for today. We'll be back again on Tuesday for a fresh package. Between now and then, please play your politics for the greater good and keep it locked on the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's finest and largest, for news, reviews, previews, and interviews. Bye-bye now.